Welcome back to Live Now from Fox as we continue our election coverage. This next story is according to a new New York Times report. It shows that Vice President Kamala Harris's support among Hispanic voters is extremely low, and that's according to a recent poll. Her rival, however, former President Donald Trump, has maintained strength with the group that will no doubt play a key role in who gets control of the White House. The survey found that Harris underperformed the last three Democratic candidates and that she's vulnerable on many issues, including the economy, immigration, and crime. To break this down for us, we do want to bring in Abraham Enriquez. He is the founder and president of Bienvenido, which is an organization dedicated to mobilizing, enhancing, and empowering Hispanics to promote the principles of liberty and policy. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us here on Live Now from Fox. We appreciate it. All right, so I do want to break this down a little bit about why we are seeing these low numbers.
So, I think about it this way. Hispanics know that if you go into your work, you go into your job and you don't perform and you don't do what you're being asked to, you don't get to stay. You get the boot. And every 4 years, Democrats come to our community and they promise the moon and the stars and everything great. And what they end up actually giving to our community is asteroids of chaos and the extinction of our dreams. And so this isn't new. This isn't just 4 years of chaos that we've seen. This is now decades of Democrats coming every 4 years and just, getting our emotions excited and proving absolutely nothing. And the New York Times shows that. When only 20% of Hispanics believe that the economy is in good shape, by the way, that's lowest, and that's a lower number than the national average. Democrats are in trouble. But what I think is really important is to note this: that 25% of Hispanics, according to that New York Times poll, in key battleground states, are now undecided, which is higher than the national average. That's great for President Trump. That gets to go into these communities, go into battleground states, and make the case for his Trump policies. And that's terrible for Democrats because they cannot afford to lose this giant voting bloc. When Hispanics are 30% of the electorate in Arizona, in Pennsylvania, and a huge giant force in Nevada and Georgia, it spells trouble for them. So I believe that it's Kamala Harris's policies haven't sticked. In fact, I don't even know what her policies truly are, but we know what we had and the lives that we had under President Trump. And I think that's what's going to excite Hispanics to go out and vote this election cycle.
That there were sorry, my microphone was off. You mentioned that there were promises that were made that you do not believe were followed through on from Democrats. Could you touch on what exactly, in particular, maybe the biggest issues for Latinos this election cycle?
So this is where I think there's a clear breaking point between Harris campaign and Trump campaign, and really just traditional Democrat and Republican talking points. See, because Democrats would love to lump Hispanics as this voting bloc that all we care about is immigration, weak borders, and amnesty for all. And while I think that maybe in previous presidential election cycles, immigration was at the forefront of Hispanic issues, poll after poll shows since 2016 to today that the top two issues that Hispanics actually care about is jobs in the economy and safety and security. And when Kamala Harris has presided over as vice president and given us the highest inflation we've seen in over 4 decades, and the fact that over 370,000 Hispanics are now living in poverty just within the first 3 years of her administration, they tend to realize, wait, under President Trump, we had better economy. We were able to grow businesses at a faster rate. And so I believe that while Democrats typically just tend to talk about immigration to Hispanics, President Trump understands, the Hispanic community is so diverse and so assimilated to American culture that every issue is a Hispanic issue. And when you're when you see him hit the campaign trail, specifically in states like Arizona, Nevada, Pennsylvania, and Georgia, he's talking about those issues and he's reaching out to Hispanics with those policy points.
But it's interesting because President Trump does have tighter immigration laws that he wants to implement. And we saw a lot of those laws reversed under the Biden-Harris administration. So is it surprising that Latinos would want these stricter border regulations?
Yeah, and I think that's the big surprise this election cycle. And what people didn't realize is that, the grandsons and granddaughters and maybe sons and daughters of the immigrants that once came to America are now American citizens. I mean, you look at the fact that 2/3 of Hispanics on the voter rolls are second and third generation Americans. What does that mean? That means that we are assimilating to American culture better. English is predominantly our first language. We understand that immigration is an important part of Hispanic history. But a lot of us see ourselves as American. This is our country. And President Trump signaling that we must secure the border, and when he says strict immigration policies, we know that, it's not just Mexican Americans or Hispanics coming across the border nowadays. The border security issue has no race. We have over 100 countries that cross our border every single day, specifically Hispanics in Texas, or my home state where I'm at today. We understand that and we know that. And I think that that's why you also look at the Rio Grande Valley in South Texas, Maricopa, Hidalgo County and Cameron County, two counties that were under Democratic control for over 120 years, predominantly majority Hispanic populated, for the first time flipped to red. That's not by accident. That's because of the border chaos and the border crisis and President Trump's strong rhetoric on securing the border that allowed those Hispanics to go out and cast their vote for that kind of policy.
We are so close to the election, as we've been saying here on Live now. 16 days, we have a countdown clock. What does Harris have to do in the next 2 weeks to win over the Latino vote?
I think what she has to do, what she hasn't been able to quite do now, is one, differentiate herself from the Biden administration. Way before Harris entered this race, Biden was polling at a pretty negative rate for Hispanic voters for a Democrat presidential incumbent. So I believe that she needs to differentiate herself, divorce herself from the Biden administration. But then that leads to my second point. It's hard to do that when she is the sitting vice president. So whether you're traveling across the country like I am and talking to Hispanic voters, they say a lot of her policy plans, this really doesn't make sense because she was running on the exact opposite in 2020, but now apparently she has switched. But also, let's say she does believe in those policy plans. What's keeping her from going to the White House today and joining forces with the president and signing some executive orders and laws that will make the policies that she's championing or she's talking about go in effect today? So I think she's in a bit of a juggle, and I actually believe that the Democrats coronating her as the nominee was the best thing that happened to President Trump because she can't divorce herself from the administration she's currently a part of. And that's the frustration with Hispanic voters all across the country is this administration.
And another interesting statistic here from this report is that more than 1/3 of Hispanic voters say they support both building a wall along the U.S.-Mexico border and deporting immigrants who are living in the United States illegally. Now, we've heard Harris say that she does want some form of immigration reform, this process of coming to the United States. Is that something that you think that she really needs to clarify, maybe is the word, or touch upon more as we do lead up to the election to get this vote?
I believe so. And something that is kind of frustrating is you see it on the debate stage and you see it every time she gets asked about it. She pivots and blames President Trump, unfortunately, on this idea that there was a border security issue and an immigration reform bill that suddenly was shut down. But what she forgets to mention is that Democrats also attached this provision that would actually fast track, I believe, over 5,000 asylum claims a month. That's not border security. That's a fast track for more asylum seekers and more illegal crossings. So that's what Democrats do. They talk every 4 years, they talk about how they want a strong border, how they want an immigration reform, but the policies that they enact actually secretly have all this crazy, amnesty, fast track for all portions put into those policies. And I think that it's important for the Republican Party and Republican candidates to also talk about why that immigration reform wasn't an actual positive reform for America, but a fast track for more illegal immigrations. So again, I'm sitting here today and I don't know what to tell you about her policy plans for immigration reform because they say what sounds good, but their actual policies, what they actually do, what they actually implement isn't good for America and actually will cause more chaos for our immigration system. As the grandson of Mexican migrants, I understand the importance of, more immigration and healthy immigration, but it needs to happen in a way that's legal, in a way that's positive for everyone, both immigrants coming into America and both for the American people who are here today. So again, I don't know where she stands. I don't know what her policy plans are. She sounds somewhat good on the campaign trail when she's talking about border security, but then again, she's had 4 years to do something about it. And where's the results of that?
Abraham, we appreciate you coming on the show and giving your insight and your opinion on this. We do appreciate you. Thank you.
Thank you. Good morning.